Hello. Right, talking to myself again. So, this is day 2 of Thras's journey through the dying lands. Having come semi to his senses outside the walls of Galgenbleck, a vision of a warrior caked in blood, rusty sword appeared before him and told Thras that he was to go to a village in a settlement outside Gram Tosk, which is the big mausoleum area in Sarkash, to collect the first goat born that year, to then take it to Anthelia, the Blood Countess, as an offering. And so Thras, being Thras, he took his muddy boots and his rain-soaked fur coat and padded armour and started traipsing north. Very soon he bumped into some slavers, and Thras thought this was the end of him. But he awoke, blood-caked, with clotted wounds, to awaken, dig into the mud and pack his wounds with mud to stop them from bleeding, to his monkeys, who one had passed away to knife wounds, and the other 3 were feasting on dead slavers' bodies who Thras had bumped into. Now 2 of those slavers, of course, ran away. They both rolled double 6 for their morale, and they ran away. One was the slaver who had the monkey attack his chest, so he had a torn shirt, scratched chest. He ran away. I've called him Torn Shirt. And the other had the monkey on his face, tearing. He wore a leather skull cap, I think I remember describing, and so tore the back of his head and around his face, and he's called Face Scratches. So I was thinking, they are still in the world, of course, and they would remember Thras and not be best pleased if they ever met Thras again. But anyway, Thras spent the night. Thras healed back to his maximum 3 hit points, and his monkeys, Grinner, Face and Ballsy, also are now on max, and though the monkeys definitely have full tummies. Thras moved on and left, by the way, those slaves, the 7 slaves in the pens. Thras giggling insanely at the worst possible time whilst doing so, and Thras continued north, camped up, had a bad night's sleep, and now we're on day 2. So day 2 of Thras's journeys. Now I did read Alone in the Crowd, which is a companion supplement to Sölitary Defilement, and in that it suggests that when you roll for your day's journey, there is a 1 in 8 chance of coming across a settlement, and of course when foraging using ferocity there is already a percentage chance of that, so we will incorporate that. Also our first misery, the big cities are burning. So I don't know what's going to be happening to the Blood Countess. The kingdoms are burning. So we did do, I should probably write down there, we did have a D10 for our calendar of Mathrop. I don't know, I can't say it, for the calendar anyway. So we are now on a D6. So we shall roll a D6. So what do we got? So first off we do the calendar. So aching and still with a dull headache at the back of his head, Thras wakes up. Let's see what world Thras wakes up into. Whoop. that is a 5. So we do not proceed with... so no misery, no new miseries today. New misery. Just spell misery. And what's the weather like today? D12. 10. Irritating drizzle. And so yesterday's hammering rain has subsided, and there is just drizzle, irritating drizzle. So I'm English, and my ex-wife, who is Australian, when she first came to England, she described the British rain as like an old man spitting down the back of your neck, and that's what this weather is like. So during today's journey, where we would be travelling, probably because we're travelling from Galgenbeck through the Trev Lands, it is a 12-day journey to get up, based on our role, particularly with the weather. So we're only sort of a day out of the city. The city is burning, so if we don't start moving quickly, we'll probably be caught at some point by refugees escaping the horror that has become the city. So we have drizzling rain. We don't need to resupply it because we've got a nice supply of monkey meat. We also collected that bottle, Waters of Life, which has the potential to turn us blind and is highly alcoholic. But anyway, so let's say we have a 1 in 8 chance of finding a settlement whilst we're traipsing along of one description or another. No, I don't roll a 4. So we would now do, let's see what the road is like. 2. Narrow wagon tracks used by farmers. So our roads leaving the city, which were quite muddy, and can't remember what I rolled, but anyway, they were muddy. They've moved into a more narrower track, and so Thoras is attempting to walk along this track. I don't know whether you've walked along a track which has had a muddy track, which is had either carts or cars travel, but they dig rivets, and as you're trying to walk, particularly as Thoras hasn't got great boat boots, he's continually stumbling as his foot slips into one of the ruts, risking his ankle as he moves. So let's see what events occur on this day of Thoras's journey, which is a D20 on the events by the road chart. We got a 2. A 2, nothing particular happens, just a rainy, dull, grey day as Thoras moves through. I don't know, shall we say if Thoras is bored, would Thoras leave the road at lunchtime, or shall we just move through today? We'll just move through today. So it's a dull day of Thoras constantly moving quite slowly, and he can hear noise in the background, like far away, whenever he stops for a breather and to rest his ankles, as the drizzle just comes down. It's very grey. The hedgerows by the sides of the path that he's travelling down, they're dying. The green is starting to dull to a rotting, like if you leave spinach in the fridge for too long, as everyone does, that brown sludge, and there's just this incessant damp smell of wet leaves as the monkeys are traipsing along beside and around him, and so he stops at the end of the day, depressed and down and wet, by the side of the road to camp. Coming off the road not too far, into the trees, just to feel a sense of safety, Thoras will camp for the night, and so he will make. Oh, was this like I sworn we have start an adventure roll? No, he hasn't really passed the milestone yet. That last battle was more an idiotic Thras move than any sort of good thing. So we do 2d20s plus presence. Presence is 1 versus a DR of 12. So we are versus a DR of 12. We have a failure. No sleep for you. Something terrible is about to happen. Next attempt at resting after resolving whatever encounter you use will be a 50-50 chance if a strong or weak hit. Will be a 50-50 chance of either a strong or weak hit. Okay, so we've got something terrible. So camping night 2 terrible, and after that we have a 50-50 strong weak. So what happens whilst we're camping? Nightly campsite event, I guess. Is that what we do? I think so. Nightly campsite event. Alright, so we are going to roll a nightly campsite event, which says it's a D12, but 1 to 5. So what's a D12? Oh, I'm just going to roll D12 and reroll 1 to 12 because my brain can't do that kind of math. It should be able to do that, shouldn't it? So what's that? That's a 7, isn't it? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 7. So there's no D7. 12. 12. D4 plus 2. Peddlers and their donkey travel slowly with sooty lanterns. They are really robbers and might attack weak PCs. Alright, well, we would say, let's see how many of these. So a D4 plus 2. Oh, I think the rest, that's 4. So we have 4 peddlers and their donkey. Oh, they've got a donkey. If we get away with this, we might have donkey meat for dinner tomorrow. And a donkey. So we have 4 peddlers and their donkey would be coming lost. They are really robbers and might attack weak PCs. So Thras is definitely a weak PC because Thras is not 4. We have that table which shows us their disposition, don't we? Their reaction 2d12. So I think if they are really robbers, we would say that it's not. So that's a d8. 2d4. 2d4 would give us kill, angered, or indifferent. So they'll almost try to kill Thras in his sleep, which means that we also have 3 monkeys left that might wake up. If they're angered, they will awaken Thras and demand things from him. If they're indifferent, they might just try and steal from him when he's asleep. So we will do 2d4 and see what happens to Thras. We have 4 and 4. 4 and 4 is 8. 8 means they are indifferent. So they will attempt to steal from Thras. Now let's see. Let me think. I don't know how we would do. How would we do this? So we would have. So I guess that is. What's that? That's presence. Presence would be it, wouldn't it? Because I think presence is our closest and analogy, not analogy. A thingamajiggy. Thingamajiggy. It's the closest to thingamajiggy. Do we have a thing that describes whatever? Oh, we go. Presence. Perceive, aim, charm, wield powers. Yeah. So this is if Thras would wake up. Thras was knocked unconscious yesterday. though there is the monkeys as well. So I think instead of saying really hard, I would say it would be difficult, which is a 14, which is a d20 plus 1. If Thoras beats 14, Thoras would grab someone's hand who's attempt to take a random thing off of him. Oh, I know what it would take. So that's 13. So Thoras basically, I'm going to say the thing that is probably worth the most that he has got. Well, let's go for, because he might lose everything, mightn't he? So the waters of life, they're gone. That got stolen. Would they risk it again? So they've stolen that. There's 4 of them. Definitely, they'd rip everything if possible. So the next most shiny thing would be the bomb. And then they might even try stealing the monkeys. Gaga monkey. A bomb. Okay. So as they go to take the bomb, Thoras wakes up and grabs... Oh, I also noticed when I was thinking about it yesterday, I didn't roll for initiative. Like 1d3, enemies begin, 46, player character begin. I just automatically had the player character begin. So, I think they're the same, aren't they? These are the same stats, which is hit point 7, d4 damage, morale of 8. So we have 4 robbers. So we have Peddler 1, Peddler 2, Peddler 3, Peddler 4, wearing dirty black cloaks, dirty grey, black, brown cloaks, wielding small knives, or 2 of them have got bones, so they've got a d4 and a morale of 8. As they wake up, as Thoras wakes up, grabbing the wrist of a dirty, slick, thin wrist, which is holding the bomb, which Thoras had tucked in the front of his shirt as he's curled up in some wet, damp leaves, trying his best to sleep. It's quite dark, and there's just there's not even quite moonlight because it is so overcast and it's so drizzly that there isn't even the light to see by. Would that make it? No, they're all standing next to each other. Let's say, not to make too much noise, that 2 of the peddlers would have come into Thoras's camp. Maybe they would have seen, maybe they would hear Thoras as they were walking down. It's a wagon track, wasn't it? With their donkey. They would have heard Thoras snoring in the bushes and the 3 monkeys snoring. So we will say, so because Thoras woke up, Thoras rolled a 16 and Thoras woke up, we will do an initiative roll, because it's sort of, though they didn't really surprise Thoras, and so Thoras, so basically they've surprised each other. So 1 to 3 they will start. I rolled a 4. So Thoras would be sleeping. So Thoras has a knife and a club. I would think Thoras would be sleeping holding onto his knife, not the club, even though the club does more damage. And so Thoras will have to, he will slash out with his knife, and then next turn I'll say that he would switch to the club if he gets to stand up. And getting to stand up, I will make him do an agility check against a 12. Then if he does, then he gets to stand up and switch to his club. Otherwise, he's still fighting by knife. Make it hard for Thoras. Let's kill Thoras off. So he has 1 peddler that he's facing off against that he can attack. That peddler can then attack back him, and then the other peddler will attempt to step up, but then we'll say that As it steps up, the monkeys will attack him. So we'll have 2 of the monkeys attack one of the peddlers, and the other monkey will attack mine, but not this round. This round will only have Thoras and the 1 peddler. So Thoras is going to attempt to slash out at this peddler who has lent in to take his possessions. Rolling a 6 plus 3, giving a 9, meaning that Thoras slashes out, and instinctively the peddler backs back, and the peddler will, I'm going to say, even though the peddler has a knife, he's not going to stab down, he's going to stamp, but I'll give him a d4 damage for stamping. He'll probably knock Thoras out straight away. So Thoras is going to attempt to roll out of the way as he stamps down on Thoras. I don't know, just not that dice. That was an 8, so plus 1 is a 9, meaning Thoras fails to roll out the way, and the thug, the peddler, catches Thoras across the face, in the forehead. Thoras's head smashes back against a rock that was just next to where Thoras was resting his head, and Thoras goes unconscious on 0 hit points. So now we just have monkeys. We're 21 minutes in, by the way. That peddler has done that. The other peddler is quite surprised this turn, and the monkeys wake up and dive on the 2 peddlers. So we have peddlers 1 and peddler 2. So peddler 1 is standing over me, over Thoras, and he's got Thoras's water of life, and I'll say has dropped the bomb on the floor next to Thoras's body, where we will have face will jump onto my. Do we roll each turn? Let's roll each turn. I don't know if you're supposed to roll each turn. I should really read a combat example. So we'll do this turn. Where we've got a 4, which means that the monkeys go first. So one of the monkeys' face will jump onto the first peddler, who is the one who was. So maybe they would have they would curl up next to me for heat, wouldn't they? The monkeys would be curled up because that's what the cat does. Like particularly because it's cold, and I use a hot water bottle. I'm old. I wake up and the cat's on top of the bed, on top of the hot water bottle. You know, all intents and purposes, I could say that she loves me, but she loves the heat. So our monkey needs to roll a 12 and gets a 7. So the monkey dives at the peddler, and the peddler steps aside, and the monkey lands in the mud. Ballsy will go for the second peddler. Slipping in the mud as the peddler steps back, Ballsy falls back and fails to scratch up the thighs of the peddler. And Grinner, who was the one who attacked the face, he will go for 1 to 3, number 1. So he will go for the same peddler that Ballsy just went for. I'm going to switch to the orange dice. And successfully dives at the face of that peddler. So peddler 2 has Grinner on him, and Grinner gets to successfully dive on his face, doing 1 point of damage, clawing at his face. So we will have. So the other 2 that are near the donkey, one will have to stay with the donkey at least until things go desperate, because we don't want the donkey escaping, of course. So 3 peddler. So this peddler with a big ginger beard, very reminiscent of what's his face from Game of Thrones. That big gingery beard, but it's just matted with food debris and very detritus, I think it'd be called. He's going to step into the clearing. He's going to start moving towards the clearing as Peddler 1, the first Peddler, who was the one staying over Thras's body, is going to turn and lash out at the face monkey, who was eating his face, and so Face is going to attempt to evade that and rolls a 1 for his evasion. That's a critical failure, isn't it? That's a critical failure in defense, which means that Face will take double damage, and Face has no armor anyway. So I will do a D4 for. I know it shouldn't be. It's a kick. He's got big boots, hobnail boots. So he takes 1 doubled is 2 points of damage, putting Face on 3 hit points. Then we will have Grinner is attacking number 2. So this Peddler is going to use his broken femur bone to try stabbing into the monkey. And Grinner is thrashing around and attempting to evade. And Grinner successfully evades. That's a 20. And so in the process of evading and thrashing around so madly, Grinner gets to get an attack on him, but he's unsuccessful to do any damage. Can't see that's the problem with the orange dice. I quite like the orange dice, but because of the reflections in this room, you can't see it. And Grinner fails to do any damage to him. So we have the final monkey who comes a bit too close to our Waters of Life carrying. Oh, maybe he could drink it. Oh, maybe if he gets damaged, maybe if number 1 gets damaged, that he's taken no damage yet. But if he does, that would heal 1d8. Maybe he will drink it, and then we can see if he goes blind. But anyway, he is going to attempt to. No, he only gets 1 attack, doesn't he? He only gets 1 attack, and he kicked at that monkey. And that was Face. He kicked at Face and successfully did it. So Ballsy doesn't get to be attacked by him. Yes, that makes sense. Next turn, he's going to step up, and there's going to be 1 monkey on each of them. So we've got our next turn. The monkeys go first again. So we will have, because we say that number 3 hasn't stepped in yet, so both Face Monkey and Ballsy attacking number 1 at the moment. So they're both going to go and attack against the Peddler who had the Waters of Life. So first off, we have the one who likes chewing faces. He rolls a 14, so he successfully scrambles up the body of this Peddler, doing 1 point of damage in claw and bites as he travels up his body. Our other monkey rolls the same, successfully. He's clawing at his thighs and shins, doing 2 points of damage. So this Peddler is got a monkey up clawing around his face and one clawing around his legs, which is Ballsy, isn't it? As Grinner is already on the face of our so what's this one? This ends up this is a woman. Ends up, they all looked nondescript, but as her hood falls back, as Grinner is clawing around her face, grabbing onto her hair, Grinner as a 17. With that 17, Grinner is successfully tearing at her hair, pulling her hair out. Oh, that's a funny way of rolling. It's actually balanced on its tip bit. So what was that? That was a 4. I'm going to say it's a 4, as it was upside down, and that's lucky. Ripping huge chunks of hair. She's screaming as huge bits of hair, like Grinner is just ripping the hair out of this side, and these matted curls are being torn from her scalp, and there's just bits of raw flesh as which that's Grinner is ripping away at her hair. So that's the 3 monkeys have all gone. Number 3 will now be able to step in. So Peddler 3 is going to step in and kick at Ballsy, who is attacking our Peddler 1. So Ballsy sees him coming, but can't dodge out the way, and takes a kick. This is Ballsy, a kick to his own special jewels, which frees up our Peddler, who has face attacking his upper torso. He now can get his dagger, his very short, rusty. It's almost like a kitchen knife. But he's but no, because this is Grinner dodging. Yes, no, this is face dodging. So face rolls a 15. So in his wild movings around, our Peddler is unable to get contact, and Grinner, who is attacking the poor curly-haired woman, she attempts to get her sharpened femur bone and stab it into Grinner, who is desperately going mad, and pierces Grinner's side, who screeches, taking 3 points of damage, leaving Grinner on 1. And this Peddler, so leaving her with her auburn. You can't tell with the amount of ash that there is in her hair, with only 2 hit points. And we are on a new round, I do believe. Which again, our ferocious monkey horde goes wild, screeching, as they've all taken damage now, as their beloved Thras lays on the ground, possibly bleeding. We'll find out whether Thras has just been knocked unconscious, or there was an unforeseen, I don't know, piece of wood with a nail in it underneath him, for all we know. So let's go. Who shall we go first with? Let's see if Grinner can deal with the curly-haired Peddler. Grinner is starting to lose interest, rolling a 4, starting to lose interest because I'm going to switch to different dice. I thought I had more than 2 d20. Oh, I do, red one. Because of that grievous wound in Grinner's side. So instead we will have Face, who is up the chest of the Peddler who had stolen the items off of Thras. He, on the other hand, is really digging in, doing 1 point of damage, scratching away at this Peddler's upper torso. And then we have Ballsy, who is now turning his attention to the 3rd Peddler, who has just stepped in and gave him a good kicking. He will attempt to gouge at this Peddler's groinal area, making contact and doing 4 points of grievous injury. So we now have 3 Peddlers who are all on half hit points and 1 who is on full, which gives us 10. So we're 1 point away from half hit points for the collective. So we're on 15 hit points for the collective. Half hit points for the collective would be 14. So probably if 1 or 2 of them fall, the rest will depart. But it is now their turn to lash out, and they will all have resorted to their daggers or broken bones with twine wrapped on their handle which is what we will switch first off to the what shall we call her? Gunther. To Gunther, with blood dripping from her shattered bone in her hand as she gouges into Grinner. Grinner desperately tries to avoid this. 12. That is just on avoiding, isn't it? Because you need a 12. You need a 12 for defense. So it scratches apart across his back as he's desperately, because this would have killed him. He's only on one hit point. Across his back, but just parting the fur. As she starts to scream on 2 hit points. Possibly next turn is our last turn, unless they go first. We will have Face. Face is attempting. Our peddler 1 with his small knife. He's slicing at Face, who's on his chest, trying to get him off, and makes contact with him. Let's see, Face is on 3 hit points. Face takes 1 hit point in scratches from this small penknife. Putting him in on 2. He has a max of 5. He's the toughest of the monkeys. He's got monkey muscles. And we have our very thin, scrawny peddler who has just stepped away from the donkey. He is going to attempt to lash down using a slightly longer kitchen knife and injure. This would be Ballsy, who has turned attention to him and did him quite a bit of damage. Ballsy is unable to evade the knife. The mud and the dark and the chaos of the battle has slightly perturbed him. 3 points, and Ballsy's skull is cracked open by the blade, and poor Ballsy falls to the ground, blood seeping from his head, and the blood under his claws at the end of that round. So we still have them. So this would be our next round. Let's see which of the two. Mind you, the 2 monkeys might run. No, they're not going to run. They love Thoras too much. But it might be too late because our peddlers go first. So we will have our desperately having her hair ripped out, almost dead. She will attempt to gouge at Grinner, who successfully evades. Oh, so nearly got an attack back. Now we will have so Ballsy's down. Face, who's going against the torso of our number 1. He successfully evades. Now let's see. So who realistic? Well, actually, probably number 3 will go to the aid of the screeching with hair all coming out and blood and clotted blood. He is going to attempt to tear. So he will only do a D2 damage, so he doesn't possibly hurt her, but that still would be enough because Grinner only has 1 hit point left. But Grinner is going to go wild around her head as he attempts to grab and throw Grinner away. Grinner, he cannot evade. He throws, which is a D2 damage. Grinner only has 1 hit point. Doing 1 hit point, and Grinner goes flying, smashing on the floor, only leaving Face. Now, it is feasible. This is Face's 1 turn. Face, whilst I would say Face probably isn't aware yet that he's the last monkey standing. It is feasible, probably at this point, Face will need to kill 2 of these peddlers before they decide to back off, and it's not worth it. Which Face could do. If Face hits and rolls a 3 or more, Face kills the peddler he's attacking now, and then will dive onto the one that Grinner was attacking. and that will give the peddler with the donkey and the other peddler the decision point to basically have it on their toes. If they roll their morale, which I won't do yet. So granted, if they win this initiative roll, it's I think it's a foregone conclusion. But Thras has survived before. But of course, if they might walk off. Would they walk off? Well, they might presume Thras is dead, but that means Thras would have all of Thras's stuff taken, and Thras would basically be naked, which we could deal with. Thras will have no weapons, no armour, no nothing. Alright, let's see who wins this initiative. The peddlers do. So, the peddlers win the initiative. We will have the one who had her hair torn out is going to attempt to patch her hair together, bleeding from the scalp. The one who just killed, what was that, a grinner, is going to feel that they have got a good handle on this, so they will step up and attempt to stab the one who is attacking our peddler number one to start off with. But that is Face is going so mad that Face evades. But how about the one that Face is actually attacking? Hit whilst it's evading the one behind it. This peddler is able to slip a knife into him and give a good old stab, doing enough damage to kill him. So at that point, our screen runs blood red as we have monkeys on the floor. Our Thras is broken again. Let's see what happens to Thras. Let's see what happens. Let's use this black D4. Ooh, bugger. 4. It's a cold, wet, damp night for everyone apart from 4 peddlers who now have extra food to sell at market, interesting skins to cover their bodies with and keep warm at least for a few days until the miseries tear the world and the dying lands apart, and chunks of interesting pork, a specialty in a lot of the villages around here. Interesting pork that used to be called Thras.